Well, thanks everybody. I just think the first thing I want to start off with is that just excited to announce, really our foundational class. It's not really our first class as a staff yet because we didn't get 365 days to do it, but just excited for what these guys bring to the table. And the biggest thing I'm excited about is that half of our class really starts from our home state of Washington. I just think a homegrown flavor and just an emphasis on what we want to do in this state is really going to be important going forward. And I know we got the right people. And I think that's where it really starts. It's the right young men with the right passion that love the process of this game with great character and are going to really represent, Coug fans all over the country to the highest degree. And I think this is a great start. There will be more to come, and I'm excited about that as we get through the holidays and get to the second signing day. But these 10 guys are really the foundation of what we're going to have going forward. And just real quick, I want to send out a thank you to Joshua Murrah and our recruiting staff for endless hours put in recruiting these guys and keeping our class together, as well as our coaching staff and all the Washington State faculty and administration and support staff that have helped us really throughout this process. And really the people I always, don't want to miss thanking is the coaches' wives. There's many times when we're out on the road that they have to hold down the family. And I just think that's important that they understand that's how important they are to us and our Cougar family. So real quick about each guy. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Javinsky Schlenbaker, first team all-conference performer from right home in Bellingham, Washington. And he's a physical specimen, and I can't wait to get him here already at the start of the spring semester and watch him go in our new offense. He's physical. He's downhill. I think he's the all-time leading rusher at his school, and just an amazing story with a great family. And I think he's going to be a great fit for our offense and our physical nature of how we want to run the ball. Next, going to tight end, and I know that's been a big topic of the day. Excited about getting Andre Dollar. And Andre really started up our recruiting process with him in the last couple of weeks. He's been an amazing family. He comes from a football family. His dad, Sam, has been coaching ball in Naples, Florida to Mustang, Oklahoma for over 30 years. And he just found the right fit. And it was amazing to watch a young man come in here and just flourish and just fit with our family and our culture and our way that we want to be here at Washington State. And the talent is there, the person's there, and we're excited for him to be the first Washington State tight end signee, I believe, in over a decade. Next, let's get to the line of scrimmage because I think that's very important. Jacobus Seth, offensive lineman out of Lakewood, Washington. And it's always fun for a guy like Jacobus that, we have been fighting over offensive line, defensive line. He's a two-way first-team all-conference performer, and just been really fun for us to see his growth and his development. We're going to play him at the offensive line, and once again, another homegrown Coug. The next one on the offensive line is Eric Wilder, and Eric's out of Syracuse, Utah, 6'5", 280 pounds, so exactly the way we want him on the edge. And we're going to keep growing Eric for a long time to come. And something really unique about Eric is all these guys, and they get in their group texts and they start talking that Eric has the biggest personality. And he's been one of the biggest glues that have kept all of our guys together. And I just thank Eric for his leadership, and it shows a lot about who he is as a person and a player and really his dedication to Washington State. So the future is really high with Eric and what he can do, and I believe what he can become. On the defensive side of the ball, and a couple guys that, throughout the process, obviously in my former role as defensive coordinator and linebackers coach, I got a chance to maybe know these two guys the best. The first one is Tariq El Okuda, better known to us as Buddha. He's a linebacker out of Inglewood, California, 6 foot, 218 pounds. He's an All-American, and the best thing of Buddha is his personality, his livelihood, and just how he goes about playing this game. He's just fun to be around, but he's a physical presence that gets downhill, and he's a guy that I think we can plug into our defense, really early in his career. So just excited about what Buddha can bring to the table. The next one out of Gig Harbor in Washington is Hudson Cedarland, 6'4", 220 pounds. He's his league MVP because he played on both sides of the ball. And Hudson, committed to us early in the process all the way this summer. And just talk about a guy that just fits Washington State. I believe he was here on his official visit. He came to 3 or 4 games. and he's just all about what we want to be going forward. And he's going to play the Mike position. He will also be an early enrollee, so we'll get an opportunity to work with Hudson, early on in his career, and expect big things from him really going forward. Safety position, Bryce Grays out of Richmond, Texas. And Bryce's unique recruiting process because we got an opportunity to see him at camp. And that's something that'll be really important to what we do going forward as a staff. Is we want to get an opportunity to really work and coach with these guys and really get our eyes on them so we can match the player with the tape and what we're seeing on person. So as things get opened back up to a normal recruiting process, we're excited about seeing more guys like Bryce. And regardless of the stars and the outcome, he's going to be a great fit for our program and what we do, because just watch the tape. His physical presence is almost an old school approach to the game, and we're excited to work with Bryce. The second safety that we're going to bring in is a junior college player, Sam Lockett. He's coming to us from City College of San Francisco by way of Gonzaga Prep, right up there in Spokane. So as I said this morning on the radio show, when Armani Marsh comes into my office and vouches for somebody, Coach Dickert is going to take notice because that's the high respect that I have for Armani. So Sam, we believe, can come in and be an instant impact in our safety position. We know we're losing both of our starters here and the two linebackers in the core of our defense. So it was important to us to go get a veteran player that plays a very similar style defense as we do at City College, and he will be here this spring. The third safety is kind of a tool that we can use is Leighton Smithson. He's Javinsky's teammate. They're at Squalicum High School up in Bellingham, Washington. And Leighton's story is unique because he just transferred there this year. He was in Idaho for 3 years, where he's a little bit under the radar in recruiting. And halfway through the season, we got a call from their coach and just saying, I know you guys love Ben. I got another one that you can take a look at. And that's kind of how the recruiting process got started. Leighton wants to run a 10.5 this spring in the 100-meter dash, and we're going to convert him from a high school quarterback to a safety. And I've had tremendous luck doing that because quarterbacks sometimes they just see the game differently, and I'm just excited about how physical he runs the ball and think that can, carry over to this next phase of him as being a defender. And to round out our class from West Orange High School in Florida is Javen Robinson. And Javen is the same way. He's a first-team all-conference performer. His quickness, his length, and what I look for in corners is the guys that love to come up and hit you, and that's what he loves to do. So he's going to round out our class. We also got an opportunity to see Javen at camp, and just excited for what he's going to bring to our corner room, well into the future. So we're excited about the 10 guys that we brought in now, and they're really going to be the foundation of our future, and we'll continue to add pieces as we go.
All right, at this time we will take questions. First one comes from Jamie Vinnick. Go ahead, Jamie.
Afternoon, Coach. How's it going?
Good, Jamie. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. So one big question right off the bat. Do you plan on taking a quarterback or possibly even two quarterbacks when this class is all said and done?
Yeah, I think there's, in the next signing day, you're going to see an emphasis of that. And Coach Morris really shares my vision of wanting to see people, especially in the quarterback position. And, we're going to heavily vet once it opened back up in mid-January, finding one and probably two, and one might be a veteran guy, one might be a young guy, because currently, our situation is we only have 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster right now. So, we're excited about where that can go, and we're going to go through a heavy vetting process to making sure we're bringing in the right guys.
Are you expecting any more letters of intent either today, Thursday, or Friday?
No, at this point, I think this is where we're going to be. But at the same time, I can anticipate a lot of movement happening here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to make sure that we're keeping our eyes and ears focused to guys that can help us and are still the right fit. So we're working on a couple of those right now.
Just kind of on a math question, which I don't like math personally. So, but
I'm a math major, so hit me with it.
All right, then. When it's all said and done, do you plan on taking the full boat of 25 guys plus with a transfer waiver, 7 transfers?
Well, I think there's some math to it where you got to have the 85 scholarship limit, and that we're going to probably hit that threshold before we get to the 32 initials, so, those are the things that we're working on right now. But at this point, it doesn't look like we'll be able to maximize all 32 of those spots just yet.
What's the rough number you think you'll be able to get?
Off the top of my head, Jamie, I don't know, but I know there's still a lot of opportunity for us to add a lot of pieces to this class, and that'll be a focus for us going forward.
And then in terms of early enrollees, you mentioned a couple guys. Who exactly is going to early enroll from these 10?
Javinsky, Andre Dollar, Hudson Cedarland, and Sam Lockett.
All right, next question comes from Colton Clark of the Spokesman Review. Go ahead, Colton.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good, Colton.
I'm just wondering, who do you see as you kind of mentioned them a little bit, but who do you see as the guys who'll be competing for reps most quickly upon arriving here?
Well, I think obviously the early enrollee guys have an advantage. You come here and get an opportunity, through the course of spring ball and winter training to have an opportunity to learn the system. So by the time we hit August, you feel like a veteran player, so those 4 guys really stand out. But, we're not afraid to play freshmen. And I think the biggest thing that we told all these guys is be ready to compete. You're not coming here just to wait around and sit the bench. Let's be ready to compete, train that way, focus that way. And one thing we have learned, via Zoom is that, we can get these guys prepared just with our schemes and going through some base things and installs so we can get them ready for their summer preparation. So, I expect a lot of these guys, to keep getting here and continuing to develop, but also being ready to compete day one.
And I know you've talked a lot about planting the flag in Washington and that being an emphasis. I'm just kind of wondering, why do you think that should be such an emphasis with this program?
Because we're Washington State. We're the state university, and I think that's an important place to be. And because when you go local, I think there's an understanding and a care and a passion, and there's a lot of Coug fans and families and heritages and alumni, and just they care about it. And I think that's a good place to be. And we'll continue to do that, as well as outreach, just like we have, throughout the whole country. Javen's an example of that. If you're the best player in West Orange, Florida, we're going to go out and find you there too. So it's all about finding the right fit. And I think that's what we've done with this class, and we'll continue to do that going forward. And we feel a lot of guys in this state really fit what we want to do here at Washington State.
And any kind of positional needs do you think you shored up or hit well today? And then kind of looking forward, what's highlighted going forward?
Well, I think, you naturally look at it and you see, 6 defensive players, most of them in the back 7 or all of them in the back 7. So we would feel like in the last couple of years, we really shored up our future at the linebacker position. And obviously, signing 3 safeties and, still have to have the ability to look at maybe adding even more at that position. So we feel good about the core of our defense in the back 7, and I think the future is bright with these guys. And I think we'll continue to look at a lot of positions on offense. That's where the additional spots will really be used and just really shape it to Coach Morris and what we want to do with our spots going forward and really reestablish our offensive line. And I think that'll be a big part of how we want to use these next spots before the second signing day.
Okay, any further questions for Alex? For Jake, please raise your hand. Next question comes from Jamie Vinnick. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hey, Coach, me again. You had mentioned, I think, when I asked a couple minutes ago about, and I think you said some on the radio show as well about, monitoring things through Christmas break in terms of, of potential additions. Were you referring to transfer portal additions or just all over the place?
All over. And like I said, when I started, this is the foundational class, but by no means has our current staff had the ability to work on this class for 365 days. So, we're looking for pieces that can continue to fit. We're already monitoring guys that haven't signed and guys that will fit what we're looking for. And, we'll be really focused on that, as we go throughout this Christmas and target some people that we want to make sure we're seeing once it opens back up in January.
And then you just kind of mentioned the fit. That's been a big emphasis. And, if you look at a couple of guys here, let's talk Tariq Alupta and Andre Dollar. What are the X's and O's like with those guys? How do they kind of fit into what you exactly want to do?
Well, I said Buddha was one of the first guys that committed to our class, and we offered him really early in the process. And, he got an opportunity to come up with his family this summer, and it just everything fits. And his physicality, his range, it reminds you a little bit of Jihad when you watch them. They're both a little bit undersized, but they're explosive and they're physical, and he's all over the field. And I love two-way players. He got an opportunity to do some running back stuff in the return game. And it's just his mentality. He loves ball. He loves the process. He loves the game and not all the stuff that comes with the recruiting process or, piece of it. So I just think he's going to be an immediate impact guy for us. And it's because of his mentality and how much he loves it. And then Andre, just really getting to know him pretty quickly in the last couple of weeks. I just think he's just that multidimensional tool that we just really are going to search for going forward. I mean, he's got the size and the length, and he's just like a big bear cub. I mean, you shake the man's hands and he makes you feel small. He's going to continue to grow. So he's going to be this athletic with this size and probably be 255 pounds someday, being aggressive and still throwing them fades and red zone touchdowns. So that type of versatility, I think, is a great weapon to have in the future.
When Coach Coop said on the radio show that he kind of compared Tariq to another current Cougar, but he wouldn't say who was it. Was he hinting at Jihad?
I would imagine because that's kind of what we all see, and you're going to see him all over the field. I just think that's the biggest thing when you watch his tape. There's a passion that he plays with and a physicality that I think it's going to remind you of number 13 for sure.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Next question comes from Colton Clark. Round 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know this off the top of your head, but do you have a ballpark of how many offers went out in total? And are you pretty happy with just kind of where you landed in terms of the numbers?
Yeah, no, I really don't have an idea of the offers that we put out. And, like I said, we're in a unique circumstance too when we're talking about recruiting this class and, obviously keeping these guys together. I think one of the biggest things, as I look, I've never not signed a D lineman in my life, and we'll continue to do that and vet those guys and really, vet in our line of scrimmage. But we're also really happy with a lot of the young guys that we brought in last year's class. So the Rams and the Lawrence and the Edsons have really established themselves as young, edge players in our defense. So we felt we could shift those needs around. Just excited about these guys that are coming in, and, the numbers of it, we don't kind of, work with too much, but just excited about the 10 guys that we have today.